What's going on Twitch and YouTube? Welcome to episode 29 of the U.S.S. CERRITOS tutorial. I'm Zero and I just want to thank you very much for tuning into today's episode. And if you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button and helping me in supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. Today we got about a 30-minute video. This was actually an hour, 8 minutes for the recording session, but I'm going to be breaking this up into 2 episodes. I think I'm going to be doing them back to back tonight on Twitch and on YouTube. They'll come out over a 2-day period. Um, we're going to be working on the outside of the ship a little bit. One thing that I haven't even done yet is the impulse engines, but on the CERRITOS, they're actually super simple, literally just requiring one block, one row of red blocks, and I'll show you where to put them down. And it totally works. We're going to be building them on the back end of the lower side of the V, and we're going to switch over here in just a second. See all that pretty detail that we got in yesterday's episode. After we work on the impulse engines, we're going to be hopping inside the ship and getting some interior work done. We're not done with the exterior yet, but I really want to get that going on the inside. We're going to be working on engineering today. Let's grab some red concrete right now. So right where we're going to be working is right along in here. So I've already got sea lanterns I placed down ahead of time to light this back area. Those are just temporary. They're not going to stay there. Just want them there so we can see what we're working on here. But I kind of held off for a little bit on doing the impulse engines because I wanted to think about what I wanted to do first of all, and it just kind of occurred to me that, you know, building them right off this bottom lip here was the way to go. Now, I think at this point I'm too far out towards the left. I'm going to have to move in a little bit more towards the right. I think that might be over just a little bit too far. All right, so I'm just going to start this on the right side. Let's see how far we're going to go. Now we're on the third. We're going to stop so far on the first one. Let's do the second one. What I mean by the first one, this is 3 rows, and we're just progressed from 2, 2, and then to 3, and then the second one's 3. I may end up doing that next one, or you know what, right now we're going to stop at it. So we're going to go right up to the last row of 3, and then we're going to stop. So that's how you can space that out without, you know, going crazy to try to figure out where to stop at. Actually went a little bit further on the left side. I'm going to look at both sides, see which one I like more, but we need some lighting in here too. I'm going to have to figure all that out. So let's give this a go. I don't think this is going to work what I'm doing right now. I think I'm going to have to inevitably do something with the half slabs like right behind it. I can get rid of the half slabs right here and delete the gray row here, and then that should show through, but I don't think what I'm doing right here is going to work. But let's give it a go and see what happens. Yeah, so you can tell that's getting darker. Yeah, that literally does nothing for me. I mean, kinda, it's a little bit lighter than it was, but it's really not what we need. Let's fix that. Yeah, so that's what we're going to do. We're just going to remove the half slabs temporarily and then do the sea lanterns underneath, just like we did on the rest of the underside of the ship. It works out great, and it's a nice way to get rid of the torches. or the candles, or whatever they call them in Minecraft these days. I'm pretty sure they were torches. But regardless, that's not something that you would see on a Federation ship. So if we can, I want to try to hide it. That is going to be nothing but problems right there. All right, we're in good shape. Let's cover that up now. And then we're going to do the same thing on the right side. And that lights that up nicely. I really didn't need to go that far back. So we're just going to start it from right there. Got a little bit of ahead of myself there. Yeah, not a super complicated build right here. This is pretty much all we're going to do. I tried to actually tape it off on the other side of the red with half slabs, and it doesn't look as good. I got to be honest with you. It looks better to me when they're you can see the full block. So we're going to do right here and right here on the corners. Because we're not going to do going all the way down the middle here. I don't think we really need to. I think that might be a little unnecessary. But at least light this area up and get rid of those torches. We don't need them. I just need to decide which one I like more, the one on the left or the one on the right. I mean, there's not that much of a difference between the two. Bear in mind, the only other variation that we're really seeing right now is that there's windows on the lower side of the hull. I don't know if I'm going to end up doing that on the Cerritos. I might do it just as a cosmetic. I really don't know. I got to kind of play with it because if I can do it and have it, just as a cosmetic, I think that would look pretty cool. And then we can get rid of that one. Just need to make sure do it on the same point on this side, right there. Get rid of that. Perfect, we're in good shape. We need to fix this gap here that we had. I deleted that before and this kind of went crazy with deleting the blocks. Yeah, and this is where I try out the half slabs. In close up, it doesn't look that bad, but it's when you start zooming out. I got to be honest, and I hope that it shows up in the stream here. But when I start zooming out more and more, you can't even see the red of the Impulse engine. You can't see it at all. But just by not having that half slab in there really does make a world of a difference. And this is something that we wanted to stand out, So for that reason, ultimately, I'm going to end up getting rid of this. I mean, if you really want to keep it on your build, go for it. But in just a moment here, I'm going to zoom out and show you exactly what I mean. See, right now we can still see it. Now it's starting to get to a point where it's very difficult to really make it out. Not like before. You can kind of see it, but, you're squinting kind of at this point, to make it out, which I don't like that. And see, and that's a great example right there where you can really see the difference between the two. Um, just that full block right there, it looks so much larger than it really is when it's sitting there compared to those half slabs. And it's just about spot on to how it looks in the picture. This was something else I was going to try to go along the edge, just to give it a little bit more color. But I think I ultimately end up taking this out also. Because I don't know. Like I say, you got to be cautious with how you add stuff. And like, I don't know, like, especially right there, like that line, like it stands out so much. Like, I don't want it to stand out like that, you know? Um, Maybe if we try the lighter color, I don't know. So I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna try the light gray, see how it looks. But I think I've already made up my mind at this point that I don't really like that combination right there. In a lot of cases, that'll work. But for some reason, with that Impulse engine, the way that it is, that just, I don't know. It stands, it to me, like I'm looking more at that line than I am the Impulse engine. That's not what I want, you know? When you're looking underneath this part of the ship, I want the Impulse engines to kind of stand out a little bit. So we're going to get rid of this line. We're going to go right back to what we had before. But that right there is two variations in how you could do this. So I've been trying to show that when I do my variations, because there's a lot of different ways you can build this thing. This is just really what I'm doing right now. It just comes down to personal preference, you know. But literally a million one ways you can end up doing this. You know, just kind of comes down to dealer's choice. But all things considered, I think the decisions that I've made so far um, have really helped to stay true to the build. And that's really the goal. Stay true to the Cerritos, try to build the closest thing to it that we can. And I think for the most part, I've achieved that. Because one of the things that I did when I was building the Enterprise and every other ship that I've built in Minecraft, and I'm even doing it right now, I zoom out and I take a look at the ship. And if you're looking at your ship and then you're looking at your reference pictures from the same angle and it matches, you're doing something right. And while I don't think that this is perfect, because like the lower pylons, it's holding lower hull, they're slightly different, but for the most part, it's about as close as we can get it. I really think that's the only compromise that I've made with this entire build so far. So one of the things that I'm looking at right now is like, I don't know, something about these windows. They look like they're too big, and it looks like crowded and shoved up against the lip. So what I'm kind of thinking about doing at this point is shaving off one more row. Now, we don't want to make them too thin, because one of the things with this ship is that the windows, you know, next gen, they're kind of long. They're not super short. So we can't really get away with anything shorter than 3. I think even a 2 long on the windows, at that point, I think we're getting um, too thin. You can see I'm not deleting every single one there. I'm only deleting the ones that are coming up to the gray lip, so that no matter where we're at along this backside, there's a white concrete block between our glass and our gray lip. And I do think that that actually makes a world of difference. I think that looks pretty good. These corners right here and here have been bugging me. And at some point here in the near future, we're going to be editing those because I recall when I was working on this over the weekend, I did slightly tweak those. It may be in today's video, it may not. Um, but we are going to tweak that. Right now, before I get sidetracked with other stuff, let's finish off our windows. So we're going up only in editing the windows that are coming right up to the gray lip. Any windows that have a one concrete block gap between them, we're going to leave those alone because they're already the right length. This is one of the things where I'm talking about staying consistent with your build and your patterns. This is a clear example about what I mean with those patterns. Even though every single window is not exactly the same shape, we're following a basic rule right now that there is, we have our glass row right here, and then white concrete, and then gray. And that's it. By following that rule is going to help us to maintain consistency all the way through the ship. And when you start thinking that way, your ships are going to come out a lot better. I promise you. Because I didn't always used to think like this. So some of the things I did in my builds were a little bit more sporadic, and I didn't look at the build as a whole. And I may not always succeed with that because at the end of the day, this is just a hobby. But I think for the most part, I've done pretty good with it. Especially with this build. I mean, I got to be perfectly honest. Even right now, how the exterior looks, I did not expect to get this much out of it. It looks pretty darn good. It's pretty close to how it looks on the show. I do need to work on my corners here. Keep that consistent. And if I don't hit that today, then I'm going to make a point to make a new video on it. Because I don't know if I actually did that or not. But we need to make sure that we do that going all the way around the saucer. But don't worry, if we don't get to it today, we will pan back to it. But right now, we're just going to move on. We're going to do a gray, darker gray lip going along the back end of our engine. And this is just to give it a little bit more definition and color back here, and just not, the basic color palette of blue and the white concrete. Because it is kind of plain back here. There's not that much that we can do. Even say I haven't even filled in the lower side of the engines yet. I'll need to do that. If you haven't even done that on your build, you can go ahead and just fill it in. All right. Let's zoom out, take a look at that. See, I think that looks pretty good. I think that actually looks a lot better on the left than it does on the right. On the right, it just looks super plain. But by having that extra line in there, I think it helps just give it a little bit more detail. This is one of the reasons, though, why we want to spend time working on our exterior even after we've gotten a lot of it completed. Adding these extra details, when you start adding them together, it really helps to sell your ship and make it look that much more better and staying true to the actual Cerritos. All right, let's take a look at that. See, just those two subtle changes by adding the impulse engines and then also that dark gray line around the back end of the warp engines. It's really just adding another layer of detail. I think ship looks so much better now than it did just a few moments ago. We are moving quite along with this thing. We're getting some stuff done. Definitely liking the progress that we're making. Before you know it, we're going to be done with this thing. But we really haven't. We still got a lot of stuff to do. We really do, because the interior, there's so much stuff that I'm going to have to do that I haven't even started yet. Because really, the only things I've gotten done on the interior so far are the corridors, and most of the shuttle bay has been completed. It's not done though, and engineering I'd say is maybe about like 30% complete. I actually had way more of an idea of what I wanted to do with the shuttle bay than I did with engineering, and I'm gonna have to hop on this week and this weekend to get that going because I've got enough recorded content for the next 2 weeks, I believe, but I still want to just keep going at this point until I'm done with the build because once I'm done with this, you know, I'm probably gonna take a short hiatus as far as building on Minecraft. My videos will still be coming out every day, but once I start getting to a point that I'm getting closer towards the end of the build, then I'll start working on the Enterprise D, just like I did um, when we got towards the end of the Discovery, and then I start working on the Cerritos. So I plan on doing the same thing. I really want to make it that where there's no gap in between the builds. That's my main goal right now. After the Cerritos, I want to go right into the Enterprise D, and then once I'm working on the Enterprise D, I'm going to start thinking about what we're going to be working on next. I'm still not sure what that's going to be. I've been thinking about a couple of things, but I really don't want to think about it too much because I'm still working on this build and I've got another build in front of me after that. So I don't want to think too far ahead. But once we get into the Enterprise D, then that'll be more of a time where you're going to hear me talking about it more. But I know for certain it's going to be a next gen era ship, and I really just want to do that for right now because I haven't really built that many ships from that era, and there's just so many cool ones to choose from. So if there's a ship that you want to see me build, be sure to drop a comment below. Regardless whether you're watching on Twitch or on YouTube, I definitely do read the comments, and I appreciate everybody's feedback and everyone that takes the time to comment on my channel. If I don't respond to it, don't get discouraged by it. I may not, even if I don't do that build right now, it's something I can pan back to. I use all those comments because when I'm looking at what my next build's going to be, I look through the comments section and I go off of the top build. So I'm writing down what ships people are asking me for, and then I look at the top builds and I think out of those which ones I want to build the most, and then that's what I go and do. I feel that that's the best way to go about it. It's mutually beneficial at that point because then the people that are tuning in watching my videos, they're getting to see what they want to see, and then at the same time I'm able to do stuff that I'm passionate about, and that's something you really got to do too. Build the stuff that you enjoy the most or that you're excited about the most, because then your build's going to come out that much better. All right, so now we're back in. Just a moment here, we're going to be, or in a few moments, we're going to be going on the inside of the ship. And now I'm decided that I'm going to take away another one, even on the ones that are coming up right up to this angle right here, because we have to. And I said that before, we may not get to in this episode. I'm glad that I did, because if I left these alone, then I'm not going by my own rule that I'm establishing on this ship for the build, that there needs to be one concrete block in between them. Even though that there is, I don't want them to touch, um, and I think that'll end up being a little bit better. Yeah, because they stand out because right now the ones on the left are a little bit shorter than the ones on the right. So now what we got to do is just shave off a little bit more, or not a little bit more. We haven't even touched these yet. So we're just really making the rest of the windows the same length as the other ones that we've previously edited. And again, this is just my preference. If you like the or excuse me, can't even talk. If you like the longer windows, feel free to leave them this way. This is again one of the reasons why I'm showing this. And I do this all the time. I will throw down sometimes 10, 15, 20 different variations, sometimes three different variations, sometimes one. It just depends on how I'm feeling about it. But I'm not afraid to try different things because when you start getting to a point where you're not afraid to explore on your builds, um, you might stop yourself from learning something. Now, that's not to say that you need to go around and rebuild your whole ship. That's not what I'm saying at all. Basically, just saying that if you're not sure about something, you feel that you can do it better or do it differently, and that might come out better, give it a shot. You know, if you're worried about losing your work, make a copy of your save, duplicate it, and then go into it, make that change. So this way, for whatever reason, if you don't like it, you can just revert to the previous save and delete the new one that you made the change to. So this way your ship looks exactly the way it did before you made that change. I really want to try to figure out if I'm going to be able to do these windows on the underside. I don't think I'm going to be able to. Um, I don't think I have enough space in between the deck um, to have that flooring and cover it up where it would look right. Um, I just don't think I have enough room. I have to go on the inside and mess with it. If I can, I do want to try to include the windows on the underside just because the Cerritos has it. But if we can't, we got to make do what we got to do what we got to do with that. But that is something I definitely intend to mess with actually soon before I really start fleshing out some of this interior. Um, the shuttle bay, the way I built it on the backside here, it won't even interfere with these windows. And if I really wanted to, I should be able to actually transition these down just by looking at them and seeing where they are. And they can actually be placed in the exact same spot they are on the underside and on the top side. But I don't want you to be able to walk through here and you just have windows above you and below you. That might look odd. I think because the Cerritos has enough decks that you either have your windows going above you if you're on an upper deck, or if you're on a lower deck, it's kind of like on the floor slash the lower side of the wall. But for the purpose of this build, the Cerritos on the saucer section is primarily going to be one deck. That is the main difference between my ships and full scale ones. I scale mine down so that I don't have a ton of extra room left over on my interiors. And it just works out better that way. Because when you end up walking through my ship, you feel like you're walking through a more complete ship. That was really the idea behind it. I could, in all honesty, if I really, really wanted to, I could build a full scale ship, but I don't have the patience to sit there for that long and build something out and have it be incomplete like that. If I spent that much time building out my ship, I want to flesh out the inside of it. So that's really the reason, one of the main reasons too why I don't, because there's nothing I can do with all that empty space and it's just going to aggravate me. So at that point, I might as well just scale it down a little bit, something that is easier to do based off of the amount of reference material that we can find, you know? Because you can find blueprints on some of these ships, but I promise you, try to translate those blueprints into a room. I mean, there's only so much X's and O's and lines to show you like how big the room is. Like, there's only so much that you can go off of from the blueprints. All right. So this is one of the things I got off of Trek Yards. So it's a shout out to them. This I've talked about this in the past when I was watching one of their episodes when they talked to Mike McMahon. Um, it's one of the graders on a lower deck, and they pointed out a heck of a ton of details on this ship that helped me in building it. And one of them that I wasn't certain about was where the shuttle bays were. And you can see on this high res picture right here, the shuttle bay is located right here. So just want to thank Trek Yards for putting out that video because that definitely helped me in getting in this extra detail. Now, I don't know if you can see going along the edge of the shuttle bay here, it's got like windows and stuff. I don't know if we're going to end up doing all that. I really don't. I think that's kind of like overkill, at least for that area. But we're going to be getting into that. I think actually right now is a good time to stop. We've gone for 30 minutes. I'm going to cut this one off right here, and then if you're on Twitch, I'm going to be coming back in about 2 minutes to pick up episode 30. We're going to be picking up right where we're leaving off right now. And if you're on YouTube, uh, this first portion that we just recorded will come out. This next portion I'm about to record will come out tomorrow. Anyway, I just want to thank everybody again for tuning into today's video. If you did enjoy this content, please help me out. Hit that like and subscribe button and helping me in supporting the channel. New subscribers, don't forget to hit that notification on so you get notified when new videos drop. And speaking of new videos, don't forget you can always catch my new Twitch streams at twitch.tv/ZeroElite. And my live streams are typically dropping Sundays through Thursday nights between 9 and 10 p.m. Eastern. Also, don't forget to catch me on YouTube at youtube.com/C/ZeroElite. You can always catch my new Starship Evo builds coming out on Mondays and my new Minecraft videos dropping Tuesdays through Fridays. Those videos drop at 10 a.m. Eastern. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for me. Just want to thank everybody again for tuning into today's video. Hope everybody has a happy and safe week, and I'll catch you on the next episode.